For the first week of my illness, I went undiagnosed. My mother would take me into the hospital every day and say, "This child is very, very sick. You don't know how this child acts. She's very, very ill." And they'd say, "She has the flu, go home, make sure she gets lots of fluids, let her rest." And interestingly, the last time she took me in, she said, "My child can't move. She can't stand." And they said, "Oh, certainly she can." So they stood me up and I collapsed on the ground and they immediately ran me in for a spinal tap. We don't have a biomarker which says emphatically this is what you have. Although I would say that anyone who had a spinal tap to begin with as a child or even as an adult who experienced polio, you would know that there's a viral component that started this whole process. And so what you're experiencing is a byproduct of that the late effects of polio. But because we have no biomarker, we're a disease of exclusion. And so what they really have to do is rule out everything else. And if the proper testing isn't done to rule out everything else, then you can't be sure that post-polio is probably the answer. You can't go to the next door neighbor and say, you had the flu, how did it feel? You can't go to your next door neighbor and say, you had polio, so what are you experiencing now? First, I had to understand what was happening to me, because many times the doctors that you meet don't know about it. They sometimes come out of medical school never having experienced even the polio process because it's basically eradicated. And so they don't have the vaguest idea of what you could have, and so may easily miss that. So if you know you had polio or suspect you had polio, then it's incumbent upon you to educate yourself and then to educate your physician. And if you know something's wrong, regardless of what you're told, if you believe you know something is wrong, you need to find a doctor who will listen. If it means going from doctor to doctor, it matters not. They can be Dr. 9, and if Dr. 10 really understands what you're going through, then it's worth changing and finding someone who will listen to what you're saying.